Welcome back to the Crochet Crowd as well as my friends over at yarnspirations.com. Today is the Footsie Blanket and this is an overview but also a stitch demonstration on how to be able to make this blanket. This blanket has a pocket that you'll see on the very bottom of it so your feet will slip into, so that when you're sleeping on the couch just like so, the blanket will not pull up over your feet. So your feet are nicely tucked in and keep them nice and warm. So this blanket was designed for me because of my height. So I'm taller than the average size blanket throw. So an average size doesn't work for me because my feet always fall to the bottom. So I am actually 5'11" for my height, and I designed this for an adult size. So for vintage white you'll need 4 balls, and then the almond color you will need 1 ball, and then taupe is 1 ball. And this is using Bernat blanket with an 8mm size L crochet hook. Now you're thinking to yourself, well, I'm not an adult, I want something smaller. I have given instructions being able to change the sizes, but it will change the amount of yarn that you will use. So just keep an eye on that. And I'm also recommending that even though the pocket is a certain distance that you'll see here, I'd recommend keeping the pocket the same for all the sizes, and you can change the height of it to match whatever height that you would prefer. And by changing the width as well, you can also change how wide it's gonna spread at the top, and that's completely up to you. I also gave instructions as if you're sitting in a wheelchair you're not gonna want it to make it as long. So what I'm recommending is that we have an idea that you can just literally just crochet enough just to get it to the waist and etc., and to have it nicely rest. So this as is too long for somebody in a wheelchair. So this is something that you can think about. I've tried to cover all my different options within the written words, and then we're gonna get started then from this point. And then I'm gonna show you how to be able to start this and etc. But there's a lot of rows of instructions and I want to cover why that is. And it's not because it's complicated. So the depth of the pocket that you'll see is 12 inches. So it's from here down to the very base, and I'm recommending keeping that the same for everybody. So the width of the pocket is something that you can change, and if you're gonna do it, just chain in even numbers like 34. I have 34 for the child size, 54 for the adult. You can just continually change. If you are somebody that requires more blanket, you can just continue to add more chains, and that would change the circumference of the very bottom. The very bottom is a flat edge just like you see, and what we're going to do is that we're going to begin the chain working around in a circle to create that look. So there's a lot of written instructions here because of the fact is that there's color changing going on. Now the color changing is causing me to write more instructions to cover each one of the colors, but the instructions are pretty much the same. So if you just have one ball of yarn, one color, you can simply just keep on going back and forth, get your 12 inches done, and then continue on to the open blanket concept. The open blanket concept is very flexible, so even if you get the wrong stitch counts or something goes wrong, you can always fix that later at another point. So what else do I need to cover? So turning it over to the back, once you get your height done, you just do a quick little trim, and I have 2 rows of trim, 1 and 2 that you see, and what I just decided to do is that I went from the base and then up, over, and then back down, and then I turned around and then went back in the other direction. So it's a really quite a simple way to be able to polish these off. Now the taupe colors that you see, the taupe and the brown, that's pretty much 1 ball each, so you can't really expand too much beyond what you have here, and then the white here was the 4 balls in order to do that. Now what you will consider doing, that when I started this I'm thinking, oh my goodness, once I'm up a little bit beyond the join right here, you're thinking it's not gonna be wide enough, and you got to give it the time for it to expand, because once it got to the right height it expanded beautifully in order to do it. So you may be second guessing your way through a portion of this, but depending on the size that you are, you'll notice that it will open up beautifully once it gets to the very top. So without further ado, I'm just gonna grab some spare yarn and we're gonna play, and I'm gonna show you how to do this. So on camera I'm just gonna show you a miniature version. The child size is 34 chains and adult size is 54, and if you'd like to customize it, just keep it as an even number. And all you're just going to do is an 8mm size L crochet hook and Bernat blanket, and this I'm just going to show you the stitch work on how it's accomplished. So I'm just gonna say I'm just gonna do an even number, so I'm just gonna say 10. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So let's get ourselves started. So this is the very base of your blanket. So this will be the exact size at the base. So if you want it bigger, you obviously just keep changing and adding more chains. So let's begin the first revolution. So round 1 is what's gonna get us started. So you're gonna go second chain from the hook. So 1 and 2, turn it over and get the back hump of the chain, and I want you to single crochet all the way down your chain. Just 1 into each, except for the very final. So you want to go to the second last chain, because we're gonna turn around on that chain and come down the opposite side of this same chain that we're working on now. So you're just gonna do 1 single crochet in each, and then you'll put 3 single crochets at the very end of this chain. Okay, so last chain put in 3, so just 1, 2 and 3. And once you have the 3 done, just keep turning it. So you've been working like this, just keep turning it and come on the underside and start in the next one. Now put your straggler down over top of that chain and come into the next one, and you are going to apply 1 single crochet in each of these chain, and it's the other side of the chain that you're working on. So this is creating a full revolution of your project that you'll be starting. Most of my bags that I've designed also start in the same thing, so that you have a beautiful section right at the very base that doesn't look open and it looks all completely closed. So once you get to the last stitch, and you'll see it in just a moment, so the last stitch that you will have is part of the first one, so only apply 2 single crochets into that one. So 1 and 2, and then slip stitch it to the beginning single crochet that you started with, and that forms your first round. But just hold here, we just got to learn something before we continue. So the very base pocket is all just nothing but single crochets, so that's really quite simple, right? The deal with it is that if you continue and chain up 1 and single crochet round each one, you are going to get the slip stitching in like a hat where it goes up on an angle. So to keep the slip stitching just on the side of this project, I want you to turn the project, so you'll do this every time, and then chain 1 and start single crocheting into each of the stitches all the way around. So every time you complete a revolution, you need to turn the project and then chain up 1 and then start, and that will keep the slip stitching on the very corner, so it'll be very much pretty impossible to see at the end, and you'll notice everything's nice and tight. So keep your stitches nice and tight when you do that, and everything should work out. So I'll meet you at the end of this round, and then we'll carry on. So I'm coming up all the way back around, and I'm coming into the very last stitch that's available to me. Okay, this is not part of the stitch, this is part of the very first one, and all I'm just going to do is slip stitch into the first one that we have. So slip, pull it nice and tight so it closes it in, turn your project, chain 1, and then start and single crochet, and you're going back in the same direction from which you just came, and you're just gonna do that. And the reason why I did this as well is that when we do the granite stitch coming up is that we will go back and forth, and that at least the bottom will look very consistent. So you're just gonna do this for a multiple of 29 rounds. You will see in the pattern of all the times you could change color, and that's completely up to you and subject to your own creativity and what yarns you have available to you. Just because I did it in Bernat Blanket, if you wanted to do it in regular yarn like this, you just have to make the chain bigger and then carry on just like this. So what I want you to do is go back and forth and making this bigger and bigger, and your goal is to get this pocket to be 12 inches deep. So right from the base right to the top to be about 12 inches. I'm just gonna do a few more rounds, and then I'm gonna show you how to do the open blanket concept. That will be really quite simple for the remaining of this. So now let's just say this is your pocket. So your feet are gonna go into here. So I have come around, I have joined it, but I've not turned this project yet. So what I want to do is that I want to fasten off this yarn exactly where it is. So even if you're using the same color, just fasten it off and then just weave in your ends at this point. So you will notice that there's a lot of instructions then for the open blanket part. That's because there's colors that are changing back and forth that you will see within that particular concept. I didn't want to waste any yarn, so I wanted to finish up the brown and the taupes that I had. So I'm just weaving this in and getting it out of the way. So what I want you to do is that we ended up here. So I want you to turn the project, okay, so turn the project once around, and right where you've just been weaving in your ends, it's obviously not going to be right to the middle, and I want you to eye up the middle one. And the reason why we did this turn is that when I go to start it, it's gonna look like it blends really quite perfectly. So I want to eye up the very middle one, and I'm going to grab my yarn and I'm going to restart. So let me just pull up my yarn, and I want to just grab what appears to be the middle. If you want to count your stitches in, you can do that, and I'm gonna say this is the middle one. So I'm just gonna go in there, and we're gonna get ourselves started with the granite stitch right now. So we're just going to join, and you could do a single crochet right now, so you can just pull it through 2, and that's a standing, and then chain 1, skip 1, and single crochet in the next. And you're gonna do that all the way until you get back to where you are. So just chain 1, skip 1, single crochet in the next. Chain 1, skip 1, single crochet in the next, and do that all the way around on your blanket, and then we'll be back in just a moment. So I'm just coming around and I want to show you where you can fake it. So if you come all the way around and you're just chain 1, now if I skip 1, I'm gonna come into the same one as the join. That's perfect. If you're one short, big deal. You can get away with that easily. So I'm just gonna go into the same one that I started with, and I'm just going to single crochet. So now what I need to do is that I need to turn and go in the opposite direction. So just turn your work, and we are never going to go in a complete rotation. So this is gonna be part of the open blanket. So there's 2 repeat rows in order to make this concept work. So let's go over row number 1. So just chain up 1 and 1 single crochet in the same single crochet, and then 1 single crochet in the next chain 1, and then we start the granite stitch again. So chain 1, skip 1, and go to the next chain 1 space and keep doing that. So chain 1. So the starting will always change every other one. It would always be the same every other row. I also decided to do this because it means that the blanket's a little more airy. It's a heavyweight blanket, right? So it will give it a little more air space because you need to be able to breathe underneath the blanket for sure. So you're just gonna come all the way back around, and you're gonna come into the last chain 1 space and then single crochet in the last single crochet. So that was one of the rounds of 2 that you'll have to do. So once you get back, turn, and now this is the second row that you'll have to know. So chain up 1 and 1 single crochet in the first. Chain 1 and then just jump immediately to the chain 1 space, and then chain 1 after that, and just keep on doing that, just filling it in. It's the granite stitch. So the pattern is really quite straightforward. Honestly, if the pattern was only one color, the pattern would have been just a page, and it would have been really quite simple, but because people like to have color options, I decided to do color, and it's what I had in my collection. So chain 1 and then skip the next single crochet and go into the second. So let me review number 1 again. So the 1 type, so turn or work. So when there's a chain 1 space right after the first chain 1 or single crochet, just chain 1, single crochet, and then single crochet right into that space, and then start the granite stitch. So chain 1 and then jump to the next space, and keep doing that all the way back around to the other side. So the height of this is really quite subjective to what you feel is important for you, and myself, this whole thing I believe is 66 inches long, which is just as tall as I am in inches. So I like to have the blanket just kind of coming up around my neck. So in the end you'll come into the last chain 1 space and then into the last single crochet, and then to review the other row again, so turn your work, chain 1. So there's a single crochet in the first one as always. So the next one already has a single crochet, so you're just gonna chain 1 and then just go right to the next chain 1 space, and just keep doing that back and forth. And that's as hard as this thing is ever gonna get. So let me just quickly do a few more rows, and then I'll be back here in just a moment. So as I'm working my way through this project, again this is just a miniature. It's almost a Barbie size really, and what I have here is that the further you go up, the more it'll expand in the width. So it will have its maximum width anyway, but the more that it goes higher, you will see that this whole section will eventually be the entire width of the blanket when you're using it. So eventually you'll come to the very top, and then that's it. So you're just gonna fasten off, and what I'm recommending is that because you did single crochet rows, is that you can just simply just start off in the middle right where the join is. So just grabbing your yarn and just attaching, and you're just going to evenly space your single crochets up, and then when you hit the corners you're just gonna apply 3 single crochets there. So you're just gonna quickly do that all the way up. It doesn't take a lot of time, and this will get be awesome. What I'm recommending in this particular one is that when you get all the way to the other side, I want you to fasten off, and I want you to start exactly where you just started, so you don't go back, you don't turn around. So in the corners just put in 3 single crochets, and that will allow you to turn. and then carry on along the top. So you're gonna fill in your spaces. So you'll fill in your single crochets and your chain 1 spaces at the top and make that a solid stitch item. So you'll do that, and then what you'll do is you'll come to the next corner and then come down and then fasten off, and then you'll fasten right on here again, chain 1, and then do 1 single crochet in each, and the middle one of the 3 you'll put in 3 single crochets every time you hit the corner. So this corner and this corner, and then come back down, and then your footsie is complete. So this is a really small example of what it looks like, and it's a really easy pattern. Just a lot of written words because the color changing, but it's overall just a fun little project to have. So that's it for today. Have a good one. We hope to see you again real soon. Bye bye.